All right, everyone, we are back with Lee County Unscripted, episode 5. So if you made it through 1 through 4, thank you.
Bless you.
Bless you, yes. So this one, we are going to dive right into the local real estate market and some other things around the real estate world that we've been seeing. So,
yeah,
Michael, we have a lot to talk about.
We do have a lot to talk about because our real estate market is so cyclical. We see the same trends year after year. And right now, where like people are on edge about the prices and like, are we in a bubble? Are things going to start crashing? We've already started to see our correction. And that happened last year.
The peak of our market was May of 2022. And I remember that specifically. Mm-hmm. It was like going up, up, up. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, you're not having 15 offers on your listing. You're having 2.
The equivalent of being on the roller coaster and like you're going up and you're like, oh my God, here comes the... and then people are screaming. But our market, like every January, December kind of falls off. People don't want to buy houses essentially in January unless they have to. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine that's the same across the country. But here specifically, we always have an increase of listings in January. And this January has been no different. We're currently, give or take, plus or minus in Cape Coral, 3,200 single family homes. That's not counting condos. It's not counting townhomes. It's a single family home.
And that reflects our inventory, right? So supply, demand. In Cape Coral, we're at 7.3 months of inventory, right? So right now we are in a very, very strong buyer's market. Under 5 months, you're going to be in a very strong seller's market, meaning there's less homes on the market. So the sellers get to demand what they want. They, want a certain price. They want a certain closing time frame. We're not there. We're back on the buyer side. So great for all these buyers that have been kind of on the fence like the last couple years of, do I buy? Do I sell? And we saw a nice little uptick in sales after the election.
We did.
We were very surprised. We thought, okay, we're just going to coast into the new year, do our year-end stuff, planning, whatever. And then we're like, oh, nope, there's a bunch of buyers that said, yeah, I feel comfortable now. I'm going to go ahead with this. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword for us because we're seeing what you just talked about with we have that inventory, which we have every January, but we also have the confidence of the buyers coming in.
Going back to Cape Coral, they're only halfway built out.
Yes. If you can imagine this, anybody's visited Cape Coral.
230,000 full-time residents. So knowing that they're halfway built out is insane to me. But people are always going to relocate to Florida because we have what most people don't have right now. And that's the ability to get warm.
We don't have the white stuff on the ground.
Well, Tallahassee may have at the end of this week. But people are always going to come here. It doesn't matter
it's their
whether
dream.
It is like, 58% of our foreign people that come here are from Canada, followed by Germany, and those are the top 2. So we're not only going to have people relocating here in the United States, we're also going to have people start shifting here more, kind of like what we had back in 2009, 2010, especially as the economic platforms change on a global level.
Yeah, when their dollar gets better, they're going to be coming here.
So the biggest question that you and I always get, and I'm sure other realtors get this as well, is I am looking for the right time to buy, and I'm looking for the prices to fall, and I'm looking for the best value. Well, what that equates to depends on everyone's financial situation. I know every realtor in the world says now is the best time to buy. But I truly believe in this market, this is the time to buy because of the inventory and the ability to negotiate with sellers.
You hit that one on the head. I literally just got off the phone with a buyer right before here from South Dakota. They're on a massive amount of land. They are selling off stuff, and they just want to be in Florida. They're looking anywhere from St. Pete all the way down and around to Miami and that whole area. And that's it's some American dream to, own a home. It's everybody's dream to move south from the north, from Massachusetts. Yeah. How about everybody growing up, all their parents, what do they always say? I'm going to retire to Florida. I'm going to retire to Florida. And that is their dream, and they stick with it. And a lot of people accomplish that, but everybody wants to get away from that cold weather, and they're planning, a year or 2 out. And you talk to these people and you get to know them really well over those couple of years and build that bond.
So for people that are looking to buy, right? Like if we're diving into numbers, like headfirst dive, then we know that between 300 and 399 equates to 28% of the market in Cape Coral. From 300 to 500,000 equates to almost 50% of the market.
That's a big sector of our market.
Right.
But again, if we look back a couple years ago, that price range was very small.
Correct.
If you go back to 2018, 19, we're at 2021 prices. We talked about this a little while ago. We are at that 2021 mark. And, I think we're going to maybe shift a little down from that because of our inventory. But I think we're going to either shift down slightly and go back up or stay there for a while, which is super healthy because we went through 2018, 19 on a nice incline. And then we just shot up mid 2020. So I think, again, if we can stay at these 2021 prices, it's going to be beneficial for our market all around and not jump back up.
And I'm going to say publicly that I was wrong and you were correct. Because when we had this discussion, I was no, we're not at 2021 prices. And she was emphatic of like, no, we are.
I made him pull all the numbers. I was like, pull it. Like, I know.
And I was wrong. I will admit I was wrong.
And you're the numbers guy. So I'm always like, yeah. But that I was like, I know where we're at. And if you bought 2022, then you're not going anywhere for just a little bit. You need to hang tight. But again, you have that beautiful interest rate. Why would you want to leave?
Correct.
Like you're sitting at 2-3%. There's no reason for you to leave.
If interest rates change and they go down. At the end of last year, they were speculating that the rates are going to drop into the 5s. Now they're saying, maybe not. It's probably going to stay in the 6s this year. We'll see what happens. But you and I just had this discussion as well of if they do drop, and anyone that's bought in the last 2 years, they aren't going to have the equity to sell and go up. They're going to refinance.
Yep.
We're going to see an influx in refinances of the people that bought in the last 2 to 3 years, depending on when you bought at the end of 2021, depending on when the rates started changing for you. So we will see an increase in refinances within this year going into next year. The people that bought in 2020, 2019, 2020, 2021, they are going to have equity where they can shift, but do they want to drop that interest rate?
That's a hard thing to walk away from. When you're talking about 2 or 3%, and now you're going to take on 7%, if you can buy down the points, be under that maybe, and don't quote me on the interest rates because everybody's different, disclosure. But it's a really hard pill to swallow because your buying power shrinks that much when your interest rates are that high. We'll never see 2 or 3% again. Like, get that out of your head. That's not happening. We will not see that interest rate again. I think a very healthy interest rate, 5-6%. I mean, when I bought my first house in 2008, I think it was right around high 5 or low 6s. And I didn't question that. That was like normal. Yeah. And when, my parents bought their first home, it was 18% interest rate. I hope we never see that again. But again, it was $40,000 versus, $440,000.
Right. We talked about negotiating.
My favorite part of this whole thing.
This is your favorite part. You love negotiation. It's like a chess match for you.
Yes. I now negotiate with a 2-year-old as well. Thank God I have those skills.
I know coming off the NAR settlement, the thing that changed for us locally, for all the realtors, let's just address the elephant in the room.
The NAR settlement and what that was. Nobody knows really what that is.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. So this was a class action lawsuit that was brought against the realtors as a collective whole, saying that there was collusion and basically a backroom deal that made it where commissions were preset. And we won't use the word commission. That's the only time I'm ever going to use commission because it went to what the lawsuit was. That's the abbreviated version of it. Like there's more to it, but what they don't tell you is your compensation, our compensation, has always been negotiable. It's no different than walking into a car lot, a car dealership, and you see the manufacturer's suggested retail price. You don't pay that. You negotiate. We know what our value is. Our compensation is X. You can try to negotiate with that with us, but it's probably not going to happen.
You get what you pay for, right?
Yeah.
If somebody says, yeah, I'll do it for X amount, for compensation, great. Let me know how that goes and what your experience is with that. And are they going to answer your phone calls? And it's just like when a seller picks a listing agent, right? You can interview all these people. You need to go with the one that you're going to have the best relationship with. Yeah. Just because somebody offers you a lower price doesn't necessarily mean it's the same quality, right? So it's the same as a buyer coming to us with, signing the buyer broker agreement that's now required in order to show any property at all. Like, you don't step foot in a property unless you have that in your hand. It's now a law. So when they're coming to us, they're getting two of us, right? For the price of one. So you're getting your negotiating skills, you're getting my negotiating skills, you're getting your knowledge, everything that we have, it's doubled. And if you're an agent that's just a single agent and doesn't have a partner or a team, you're selling yourself. You have to prove what you're worth. And if you can't prove what you're worth, then that's on you. I am all for these buyer broker agreements because, again, we have so many people that come from so many areas in our country that will just come down here and go, oh, yeah, that's look good. Take all of our knowledge and information. And then you walk into an open house and go, when there's agents that are not ethical, will say, oh, if you go with me, I'll get you a better price on the house. And off they go. And there goes all your hard work for years. Like I said, back to how many years we start working with people. It's not a fast business. It's a long commitment that you have with buyers. But a buyer broker agreement protects everybody. It protects that buyer, it protects you, and it protects the seller. Because you know exactly what you're going in with. It's all written out on a signed piece of paper before you even start touring.
Everything is transparent.
Yes.
And it always has been.
It
at
100%
least for our market and for the state of Florida. I don't know other states, how their listing agreements and how their sales contracts are. For us, it's always been transparency, and it's always been right there in front of the sellers and the buyers. But it goes back to the consumer educating themselves and knowing who they're dealing with and what that person represents or what that team represents or the brokerage represents. The stat of 10% of the entire board or the entire association, and it's not our association specifically, it's just in general, roughly about 10% of any board, they do more than one real estate transaction a year. So if you're dealing with 10,000 people, only 1,000 realtors do more than one transaction a year. You can get some really bad apples, and it can make it really bad for those 1,000 that are professionals and doing everything the ethical way.
And I think that's why the name of a realtor, kind of has a stigma to it as well, is because we do have a lot of people that do under one transaction a year. And that's hurting the clients, right? They're not in the market. When Mike pulls his numbers, it's not just like, here, I'm looking up stuff. It's pages of numbers that you pull, and you spend hours and hours on that. You're like Rain Man, and you memorize them. You can spit them off the top of your tongue. I have to visually see them, and then I'm good to go. But you are just all about the numbers. Now, if you take someone who sold something less a year and you ask them how the market's doing, they're going to be like, it's not good. Where you can say specifically, exactly what is Fort Myers doing? What's the average list price in Fort Myers? Fort Myers has 5.2 months of inventory versus Cape Coral 7.3. So you can say all that versus guy or girl who got their license just to have it when they retire.
And I think what is really important, again, is like our job is to educate our clientele and make sure that they're completely comfortable throughout the entire process and stress-free. Do things come up? Sure. But going back to purchasing a home here in Cape Coral, Fort Myers, Lehigh Acres, Bonita, Estero, wherever in Lee County or in Southwest Florida, is it smart to purchase now? I'm going to go with yes. Yes, it is.
I truly do believe that. I think that we have such influences coming over from Miami, and they're so used to paying these prices that are astronomical that we can't wrap our heads around it. So when they come over here and they see that the average sale price was what, $469 to them over there, you can't even get a house under $500,000. So they're like, yeah, sure, I'll go ahead and take that. So you're seeing a lot of that, which is going to hold our market steady versus if we're comparing, which we should never do, to the last big cycle.
Yep.
And I wanted to say this before, but we didn't have an abrupt shutoff, right? In May of 2022, we had that we're not getting 15 offers. We're now getting, 2, 3, 4, 5 offers, which was a shocker for us because for 2 years we had 15, 16 offers a house or more. Whereas in 2006, it was like a switch shut off and it was an abrupt stop. Us in 2022, we had a nice gradual slowdown and it kind of trickled up and slowed down, which is a healthy market. It's this abrupt stop that we had in 2006 was unprecedented.
Part of that was the whole financial institution
Correct.
changed completely. The dynamic of lenders went from 0 to 100 and then back to 0 very quickly.
Yeah.
And that's what led to part of that financial crisis collapse. I won't refute the fact that our prices here locally in Cape Coral was $500,000 at January of last year. And we're down to, $465 on average, not median. I like averages. I don't like median. That's just a personal preference thing. So yeah, that's part of that correction. Real estate always has corrections, always has peaks. It's the only thing that has ever outperformed the stock market historically since its inception. So yeah, this is a healthy, like we are okay with this. We're good with this. The other part to the equation is the days on the market. Days on the market have gone up.
Yes.
And so the hard part is, honestly, it's sellers.
Yep.
Sellers have so much personal feelings invested into their home.
No, because it was their home.
Yeah.
You made memories
Yes.
in that, and you think back of all the years you had, and you're like, well, what's going on? And frustration rises.
Right.
Because, again, they're watching the media and not the local
Yes.
experts.
But the other side to that is the realtors that don't do their homework and don't do their job and don't educate the sellers leads us to where we get more and more inventory that is sitting, which is causing more days on the market. Some of that is just because a home isn't selling for whatever reason. But some of that is because there wasn't an education process throughout the whole entire time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you said the reason why we have more inventory and it's sitting longer is those agents, I think this is what you meant, is that those agents are overpricing the home.
Yeah.
And even now when we're pricing homes, we can never look at the price and go, okay, this is what the price is going to be in 3 months. There's really no prediction. You have to price for what has just sold and be slightly under that in order to get any kind of market activity. If you're even at the sales price of what the previous house was before you, you're going to sit there even longer. So if somebody's in a dire need to sell, we really need to be even more aggressive than slightly under market.
And we just saw that when we went live on one of our listings this week.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of.
We had a number where we believed where it should be, and someone went on the market 2 days before we went live with our listing, and they were slightly below it. So,
and the house that went on the market was slightly more enhanced.
Right. So we had to change our number. We would have been the only one on the market at that price point, but this person went live at under what we were like.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch.
Screwed up our plan.
Yeah, let's change it.
Basically underpricing a home and moving with the market, right? You always have to be ready to pivot in any kind of market, but specifically a declining market. You really have to be open and listen and trust your real estate agent because they're the ones that are going to guide you. And yeah, there's some anomalies out there that you just can't move and for whatever reason it is and bad luck. But really just listening to your professional is going to take you a lot farther than getting stubborn and being adamant. Like, unless you need that much money in your house and you're going to foreclose if you don't get it, then that's a different story. But if you're listening to the mainstream media, you can go to another state, somewhere in South Dakota, is like a very strong seller's market and stuff is not staying on the market more than a couple days. Well, that's not our market here.
Right.
We are, 107 days on the market at this point in time? It's a big difference.
I thought of what I want to say, and then you said the word pivot, and then I immediately had the Friends episode in my head. And then I wanted to say that immediately, and that's the child in me. But what I was going to say is for the sellers that hire or do an appraisal, an independent appraisal for themselves to know where their house is should be listed at. I'm going to tell you emphatically, don't waste your money beforehand because a bank appraisal is always going to be different than a private appraisal.
100%.
Save your money.
A bank needs to be cautious, right? They're always on the defense where when you do a personal appraisal, it's just, I think this is what it is. This will be good. Like there's nothing tying you to that number. It's just here it is and off we go. Where the bank appraiser is relying upon that number and it's either going to make or break the deal. Personal appraisals, not so much.
So we talked about boards and agents, but here's a crazy stat for you.
Lay it on me.
47% of all licensed realtors in the United States did not sell one transaction or one home last year.
Whew. Well, what are they doing exactly?
Taking up time and space.
Yeah. Well, again, it matters who you work with. I can say it time and time again, but that is a big number. 47% of licensed real estate agents didn't sell one transaction last year.
Because everyone thinks it's easy.
Yeah.
And everybody wants the instant gratification, but they don't want to do the work that goes with it.
The years of legwork.
Yeah. And they don't want to bring value to the industry or to a client. And that's why we have what we have. Thanks for tuning in to episode 5 with Kim and I, diving into our Southwest Florida real estate market. If you want more information, you know what to do. Click the button or call us. Either way. Thanks for watching.